The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette, for an effortless finish to your day. New Gillette Labs Razor with exfoliating bar.
This is News Talk.
Now then, welcome along Monday evening here in Off the Ball. So we are nipping our way very quickly through June. The All-Ireland Hurling Championship has more than taken shape. We have our semi-final lineup. Tommy Welch is going to join us after 8 o'clock to discuss the weekend that was and to look ahead. Before that, 7:30, Gary Murphy on what was genuinely an extraordinary finale to the US Open at Brookline. Matt Fitzpatrick has made his major breakthrough in some style. He pipped Will Zalatoris at the death. On Monday Night Rugby, we're down in Cape Town. Craig Ray with the South African perspective on the URC season that was. Stormers beat the Bulls on Saturday and they were in financial ruin at the start of the season, so quite the story there. And we'll have the 2020 Hurler of the Year, Geroge Hegarty, with us as well. 53106, the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. Mick McCarthy here in studio. Hello.
Do you know what I like about that intro, Joe?
Go on.
Lots of hurling.
Lots of hurling. Well, Mick, enjoy it because it's gone in about 3 weeks.
It is.
See you in January then.
Yeah, well, the county championship anyway. But yeah, it's not two more hurling weekends left in the inter-county season.
Yeah, that's right. So the 2nd and 3rd of July, and then the final on the 17th.
Yeah.
And then you're out.
Do you know I'm getting a lot of, there you get like Facebook memories and all back for when you used Facebook like 10, 15 years ago. Yeah. And I get them and it's all like me going to like first rounds of the championship and stuff like that.
Summer's here.
And it's like, hold on. I was just watching an All-Ireland quarter-final at the weekend.
Yeah.
It still feels weird. That's like, without getting into the rights and wrongs of it, we can all agree at least it's odd.
No, we can't agree on anything. Richie McCormack, hello.
Hello, Joseph. How are you? I'm Michael.
Very well. 53106, the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. No, it's very weird. It is very strange. So we'll chat to Tommy Welch after 8 and then Geroge Hegarty after 9. No football show for the next couple of weeks, but we are very much staying on till 10 o'clock. So it won't necessarily be football between 9 and 10. And Geroge Hegarty is coming your way after 9. So, that's the hurling well covered this evening. Even you, Mick, were taken with the golf over the weekend.
I was. Is that a suggestion that I'm not a...
Sorry, do you know why I did that?
Yeah.
Because I was looking at Richie's head there.
Yeah. And even Richie would have been phenomenal and definitely noteworthy. But no, I'll always watch a major. But I was very taken with it in the quality of it. Me and you talked a lot over just in general conversations all summer really about how it's not talked about enough how difficult it is to keep your composure and keep the ball basically on the fairway in the last round of a major, that pressure is on for such an extended period of time in a game that needs such precision that we almost laugh at the fact that all these guys bottle it, but it's for a very, very good reason. And if you look at Zalatoris, Fitzpatrick, to a lesser extent Scheffler, because he just won the Masters and probably had a little bit less pressure on him, but those two in the last group just kept coming at each other, and such a tough course where you've seen so many fall away. You always know a tough course when somebody looks like they've had a decent week and then they get to the weekend and they end up 18 over. Like they've had like 2 77s in a row or something like that because they just can't keep up the concentration. And the two boys were knocking around for fun they got better as the round went on.
It was an exceptional quality of golf. Absolutely exceptional. As good as it gets.
Yeah.
This new breed are incredible. Fitzpatrick's been around a while now, but Zalatoris is new on the scene and he is just a major machine. He's basically been second in 3 of the 4 majors that he's almost got the weirdest Grand Slam. The Louis Oosthuizen Grand Slam of second place in all the majors.
Westwoody as well.
Yeah. But he did nothing wrong. I mean, he was very unlucky in 15 where, ironically, in hitting it less wayward than Fitzpatrick, he had a worse lie in the thick rough, and Fitzpatrick made a crucial birdie there, and Zalatoris bounced back with birdie and was millimetres short of another birdie on 17 and gave himself another birdie chance on 18. You can't do any better than that, really. That's just golf at a certain point. Sometimes it trickles into the hole, sometimes it doesn't. Fitzpatrick hit it was being described initially as a miracle shot on 18 out of the bunker. It was a very good shot. It was more because of the pressure that was on the line as opposed to the technical requirements of it. But there was a fair bit of pressure on the line and he nailed his shot from a bunker, tricky enough shot, and made his par and won his first major. But you look at the two of them and even Scotty Scheffler and you say, God, all of you just emerged with loads of credit here.
Yeah. And you look at even down the field, like Rory felt like he'd had everything this week and was holding it together so brilliantly on Friday and Saturday that you thought maybe he could do it on the Sunday, and was kind of unlucky, like played well and left a few shots behind him and wasn't that far off in the end. But like he had too many wobbles when the other guys weren't having them. There was a point where I was like, could Rory get in a 3 under with Matsuyama here? And those guys could fall back. They've 7 or 8 holes to play. They're only at 5 under. It's not beyond the realms. And it just, as you went on, you're like, oh, they're not blowing it. They're just not going to do it.
Rory, with a 67 on Thursday, arrived with his Canadian Open game.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, his ball striking is good here. He's got a great chance, and the putting was good. And then on Friday, things could have went very badly for him. He didn't have his A game, but he kept it together. And on the Saturday when he shot a 73, it was almost an amazing 73 because he didn't have his A game either. And then last night he didn't have his A game and still sort of kept it together. But at a certain point, it stopped being impressive that he was keeping it together without his A game. And you were like, hang on, he hasn't had his A game for 3 of the 4 days. That's not quite good enough either.
Yeah. You still, I suppose what I mean is like when you're kind of checking in and out, he was still hitting the magical shots here and there, and maybe a lot of them too many were to save par. But yeah, what did you think of Rory kind of almost like being one of the Matt Fitzpatrick huggers at the end and just giving him the really nice moment? I thought, you know, he was the only person I could hear. Yeah. Which I found, there's a cynic in me that found that a little bit suspicious, you know.
Guys, I'm going in. Put up the mics.
Put up the mics here. Don't mind his brothers and his mates, like, you know, but make sure you get what Rory says. But I just thought it was actually a lovely moment and it was full of class. Like.
Full of class, yeah. Ironically, the TV coverage on the Saturday was disgrace.
I heard. I didn't see much of it on Saturday night, actually.
You're saying the mics being up for Rory. For a lot of Saturday, just it was mute. With a lot of the shots, they seemed to not be able to put up a fader. It was genuinely a low point. It might be a line in the sand for golfing broadcasting. It was that abysmal. Like even Mike Wan, the USGA president or CEO or whatever his title is, has come out and said, yeah, no, we're looking into it because it was shocking. NBC basically are the host broadcaster. Seemed to sell a lot of ads. So Sky Sports were scrambling for any scraps they could get and then just showing a lot of pictures of Boston. They waited for NBC to come back from ads, so it was truly abysmal. Richie McCormack, what caught your eye over the weekend, sporting wise?
Apart from Bowes, Tailteann Bowes beating Shells is pretty good on Friday, Joe, I have to admit. Yeah, it's brilliant. I don't know, the Tailteann Cup kind of it raised its head and now is going to be forced back under again, as we mentioned last week. Like it being the first part of a doubleheader with an All-Ireland semi-final, I don't think it does it any justice. There was kind of an opportunity, I guess, for it to ride on this wave of interest that it was given by having pretty much Sunday to itself, aside from the Ladies' Championship yesterday. So it's kind of disappointing that after getting 2 really good semi-finals, and they were good quality semi-finals, both of them, that they're now going to be forced into secondary position in that semi-final day to Croker. It sits oddly, but I don't think that should detract from the fact that we got 2 really good games of football and it kind of hammered home. Like we were talking about at the start there, Mick's talking about it being strange that the summer is disjointed or moved forward a little bit further than it's done. But I think that has done wonders for the Tailteann Cup. I think if you're still on the same calendar, if you're still looking at the championship ending in September, and similarly the Tailteann Cup ending in in August and September, you would have seen that exodus of players heading off for the summer. Now they probably get to hang on for a few weeks longer than in terms of being championship available than they would have done previously, and I think it's done wonders obviously for Westmeath yesterday. For Offaly it certainly did. I think getting to the semi-final, I know it has done for Sligo as well. So like it's done well, I think, in its first year. Just a pity, as I say, that it's been lumped into an All-Ireland semi-final for its final.
I think it not being dead in the water in its first year was almost the crucial part.
Yeah, it's been accepted now as a tournament that players want to win, and teams are willing to get behind and see it as what it is supposed to be, which is a reasonable competition for these teams with the types of resources they have to go and win a national championship. And for that, it's been brilliant. I agree with Richie about look, I mean, I think promotion is one part of what is this tournament that gets, I think, an awful lot of the conversation around it, and it's not the only thing. I think it's supposed to be this tournament that you get behind if your county is involved, and brilliant, and there's a competition there to win. I would agree, though, that putting it as the first half of any doubleheader, and I'm not going on about my doubleheaders again tonight, I've been banging on about it for weeks, but
you're a fan of them, right?
Oh God, they drive me mad. But actually, the Tailteann Cup doesn't have to be the biggest thing in the world. It doesn't have to be this thing where we talk about it for 5 days in the build up to the final, and it doesn't have, it's big in Westmeath and it's going to be big in Cavan, and that's all it needs to be. But I do actually think it takes away from it that it's going to be, the trophy is going to be lifted in front of a load of, say, for example, if the results go next week this way, Derry and Galway fans who are getting ready for their biggest game of their and a few sprinkling of Cavan and Westmeath fans, and there is no crescendo to it. So even if what I say is that it only matters to the counties involved, or not only matters to it, but it's only big and major for the counties involved, then that is taken away from it as having it as the opening game of something like that.
Curious to see about the trophy lift. Will there be other teams warming up going, here, get on with it?
This is like that's the way the minors have lifted trophies for years, but it can be a little bit quick. I remember being at an All-Ireland final where Kilkenny won a minor hurling title, and it was the day of the Tip Kilkenny 2010, when Tip stopped the 5 in a row, and the Kilkenny captain had the temerity to try and make a speech as the GA president, or whoever it was, probably a lesser than president, he was saving himself for later, made a speech that lasted about 15 minutes and gave the cup to the Kilkenny guy who took the microphone off, and Black Eyed Peas just hit at the loudest decibels I've ever heard in Croke Park, just to make sure that this kid wasn't going to have his moment.
You're done,
because we have a senior game to think about. So the second leg of a double header is always going to take precedence, and it definitely takes away.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, what are you doing? We're doing our lap of honour. What are you doing? We're warming up.
Yeah,
you know,
even all in semi-final to play here.
I'm not saying this is a definite or otherwise, but I'd be curious to know from Cavan and Westmeath fans, are they put off going to Croke Park for this thing, knowing that the tickets are essentially going to be limited because the main course is an All-Ireland semi-final, and that should be the case to a degree. But does it put you off the occasion, knowing that it's not centre stage? I'd almost be half of the idea that they have the semis in Croke Park as they did yesterday, and maybe play the final on its own day somewhere like Porky Queeve in Semple. Like, I don't know if that would work or if that's to the liking of everybody. I think obviously in GAA terms you're never going to please everybody.
I'd go
but
the
in terms
opposite.
of giving it its own identity and giving it its own day, it probably could work a little bit better than what they're suggesting this year.
Funny enough, I was doing GA late night on Twitter Spaces last night with Dottie Regan, Sarah Donovan and Michael Quinlivan, and we were talking about the Offaly minors getting to their first All-Ireland final since 1989 in the hurling, and there was a caller in about it, and Dahi and Michael Duignan have been talking about it on TV, adamant that it's a massive loss that the minor final isn't going to be on before the All-Ireland final, and that they miss out on that day and that occasion and playing in front of the big crowd and the tradition of that. Instead it's going to be on its own, I think in Limerick. I'm not sure if it's officially set yet. So there is a very different there are two different outlooks as to whether being there on the big occasion is in itself a prize and is in itself a spotlight.
Clock is going to get away from us. Newsround is brought to you with Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. Well, let's start the Newsround. Richie, you're starting with rugby.
Yeah, Leinster scrum half Nick McCarthy has praised the role of his coaches in helping him come out as gay. The 27-year-old said he contemplated quitting rugby rather than be open about his sexuality. McCarthy thanked Leo Cullen and Stuart Lancaster today for their support, which he feels made him more comfortable in coming out to the rest of the squad in January, and he hopes fellow players in a similar position can follow his lead. Cullen spoke about McCarthy's decision to come out to Leinster TV today.
Nick has told us a while ago, so the main thing when I talked to Nick first was, it's great that he's able to talk openly to us, for starters. Nick is a brilliant individual, and we're supportive of him, so that's the most important bit for me. We want to make sure our guys are able to, maximise all their ability and bring all of themselves to Leinster rugby while we're here. And to be able to do that, you've got to be very comfortable in who you are, I think, in this environment. And it's great that Nick has shared his news with everybody. And we only wish great things for him. But that's like similar to all of the guys we have here. So it's a brave step for Nick. And but as I said, he's a brilliant character, and we only wish good things for him into the future.
Yeah, so this time last year, Jack Dunn, the Leinster second row, talked about his bisexuality in 23 years of age, and again, that was to be applauded, and this is all very noteworthy, but at the same time, you hope increasingly a story like this is treated with dwindling importance, because ultimately it's not very important while still being significant, I understand.
Yeah, and more common with any luck, because, I mean, we know that it is, it just by statistically, I mean, this is, there are many, many more, and the more open that people are about that and the more that's accepted, the better society is and the better sport is and everything else. So fair play to Nick McCarthy. It's still in a situation where it is, I think, a big deal to actually come out and make this statement in the world of sport. But as you said, less so every single time, thankfully.
Yeah. So golf then, we mentioned the US Open, Richie. It was, I suppose, unfortunate in some respects. Leona Maguire was in a really dramatic playoff and came out second best in the end.
Yeah, she was indeed. A lot of people double screening last night. Leona Maguire, though, has cracked the top 20 of the women's world golf rankings. The Cavan golfer was beaten at the second playoff hole by Jennifer Kupcho at the Meyer Classic in Michigan last night. Maguire's near flawless second round of 65 saw her finish on 18 under, along with Kupcho and the world number 2 Nelly Korda. Despite that, Maguire is up 8 places to 17th in the world.
USPGA is on this week, so it's a major weekend, so she's timing her form very nicely. It's that Congressional where Rory won back in 2011. And so, speaking of US Open 2022 version,
yeah, Matt Fitzpatrick's final round of 68 saw him win a first career major at the US Open last night. The English golfer beat the American duo Scotty Scheffler and Will Zalatoris by a single stroke at Brookline. Rory McIlroy's 8-year gap between majors grew a little more last night. He had to content himself with a share of 5th after final round 69. Seamus Power ended up with a tie of 12th. He was 1 over. And after a strong start to the week, McIlroy says he's handling the highs and lows of major golf better than before.
The way US Opens go, there is a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and I felt like I did a good job of that this week. I feel like I've done a good job of that at this tournament for the last few years. I mean, I think this is like my 4th top 10 in a row, coming off the back of 3 missed cuts in a row at this event, so it's definitely been better. It's still not quite close enough. There was a few holes there today where I made the birdie and then, did the reverse bounce back with the bogey at the next, and, that's... to win golf tournaments, you just can't do that. So yeah, but it's there. It's close. I just have to stay patient. As I said, I've got one more opportunity this year to try to get a major, and I'm looking forward to that.
I feel like Will Zalatoris was missing a putt there in the background at one stage. Graham says, Joe, you said put the mortgage on Larry.
I hope you didn't say that.
I have never advocated putting the mortgage on anyone, Graham. I've never used that phrase in my life. Put 50 cent each way on someone would be about as rich as my bets get. So I absolutely did not say put the mortgage on anyone. And secondly, it was Peter Lowry's tip. Mine was Zalatoris, actually, but Peter Lowry's tip was Larry.
A lot of people were on Fitzpatrick. Before Sky went nuts with the 2013 amateur championship of it all, a lot of people were kind of talking about that more quietly and put a few quid on him. Rory's first time ever finishing in the top 5 of the first 3 majors of the year. His consistency has been pretty good. You just want him to just kick on that one little bit more.
I know. It's an interesting thing, golf. You're better off getting really, really hot and then really, really cold and fluctuating as opposed to being Mr. Consistent. My tip was Zalatoris. And
you mentioned that twice now, Joe.
Oh, did I? Couldn't work out if I was thinking.
Just want to make sure you get the credit for it.
Well, I don't get any credit for it. He lost.
Well,
second is last.
Everyone backs each way in golf.
Not 50 cent each way. You're not making all that. It's not really. No, the phrase "put your mortgage" has and never will be used. Don't worry about that. Richie, where are we going next?
The Irish exodus to Serie A continues. Cork City have confirmed that Cathal Heffernan has signed a permanent deal with AC Milan. You might remember that the 17-year-old defender initially joined the Serie A Giants on loan in January. Heffernan made 13 appearances for Milan's under-18 side and then 1 for their under-19s. They've seen enough to make his deal permanent, though.
We mentioned Tailteann Cup.
Yeah, Cavan are going to play Westmeath in that inaugural Tailteann Cup final. Cavan beat Sligo 20 points to 114 at Croke Park yesterday, while Westmeath got the better of a Midlands derby with Offaly, beating their neighbours 322 to 216. The Lake County manager Jack Cooney says the new competition is hugely important to the county.
Well, it's a huge development opportunity for us. Over the last couple of years, playing championship, when we were beaten like we were knocked out, and that was the end of the season, where now we're working towards the last game of the season. It's a position we haven't been in before. It's going to be new to us, but we're going to enjoy the next 3 weeks, and it's another opportunity to develop the group even more. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, chance of silver in Croke Park. It wouldn't be a bad way to finish the year.
It'd be great, and we were just saying that earlier as well during the week that young Westmeath supporters coming up here, for them to go back down the road with a positive experience is going to help them. plus, in 3 weeks' time, if we're lucky and we can manage to climb the steps of the Hogan there, that's going to be an extra special memory for them. So, and it's something that they won't forget. And if we can do that, then brilliant.
Rich, just a few bits of football news before we wrap up.
Yeah, Ryan Giggs is to officially resign as the Wales manager. Rob Page, of course, in temporary charge since November of 2020, when Giggs was charged with causing actual bodily harm and using coercive behaviour towards his ex-girlfriend and also assaulting her sister. Giggs maintains his innocence, but his case is unlikely to be heard before August. In his absence, Page has guided Wales to a first World Cup finals since 1958. Discussions, meanwhile, ongoing between Chelsea and Inter regarding a loan move for Romelu Lukaku. The Belgian striker only joined Chelsea from Inter last year for €115 million. But after an underwhelming season at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea are happy to let Lukaku leave, but they want a loan fee of $10 million and for all his wages to be covered. Meanwhile, Chelsea chairman Bruce Buck has left the club today after 19 years with new co-owner Todd Bowley to succeed him. Marina Gravenskaya is set to follow Buck out the door. And West Ham have paid Rennes €35 million for defender Naif Aguer. The Moroccan international has signed a 5-year deal with the Premier League club. And the Premier League newcomers, Nottingham Forest, have made Union Berlin striker Taiwo Awoniyi their first signing of the season. The former Liverpool player scored 15 Bundesliga goals for Union last season. Awoniyi will cost Forest €20 million, with Liverpool receiving 10% of that.
Okay, fellas, we are pretty much done. Mick, chat to you later on. Thank you.